Alright, now let's see how TV support was added to the Universal Media Player. On the GitHub page, you can see a complete diff of the code changes that were made. Of course, there's a link to this in the instructor notes, so there's no need to memorize anything. While you're going through this, pay special attention to the manifest. This diff is pretty good, but a few changes were actually committed before this diff was made. So it's probably about 90–95% complete, but it doesn't quite get everything. Right now what I'd like to do is walk through the essential pieces in Android Studio. Here we are inside the manifest. The first step is to update the manifest to include leanback support, being careful not to require it since we'll run on multiple devices. And because we intend to run on our TV, we need to set the touchscreen to not required. Now let's create an activity to run on the TV, which we specify using the leanback launcher category. Here's our main activity for the TV. As before, our plan is to use the leanback's browse fragment as the main UI, so the first step is to create a layout for it. Also as before, the layout does little else but hold the browse fragment. If we ran the project to this point without including any other code, we'd see an empty browse fragment. Notice that right now we only have a mobile configuration. Launching that will cause the phone UI to appear on the TV. Let's see what happens. Here's the UAMP mobile UI on the TV emulator. This is in fact proof that Android TV is just Android. Now you can still run the TV UI by exiting UAMP and launching it again from the TV home screen. And here's the empty browse fragment. Or you can create a new launch configuration for the TV that specifies the right activity to run from Android Studio. And here's how you do that. Under Configurations, select Edit, then add a new one for an Android application, specify the module, and choose the TV activity. Whoops, didn't give it a name. Then hit OK. Now when you run that launch configuration, the right UI will come up. Now it's time to populate the browse fragment, and to do so, we'll use the media browser you saw in the Android Auto lesson. Scrolling up a bit, I want to point you to this comment. The details of the media browser aren't important, beyond that it provides a tree structure of media items you can explore. A media item can be playable, like a song, or browsable, like a playlist. UAMP is hard-coded to expect the 3 levels of media items that you see here. The first level is a category of categories, like genre, which will go here on the header items. The next category is a music style, like rock or jazz. They'll go here on the rows fragment. Finally, we have actual songs, which will be displayed on a separate UI. First, let's create the header items. We do so inside the media browser callback. This gives us a list of media items, which can be playable or browsable, and they contain metadata about a song or category. At this first level, we'll create a header item for each of the media items, and the pattern is exactly the same as you've seen in previous lessons. Next, if the item is browsable, we'll explore the music hierarchy deeper and create a row for its contents. Here, the browsable items are going to be music styles, like rock and jazz. You can see how the second level is explored inside the row subscription callback. Also as before, we'll need a presenter to display these items. Here our presenter can take either a media item or a queue item as input. And if you scroll down a bit, you can see logic to set the description and to fetch the album artwork. At this point, if we run UAMP again, let's see what we get. Here you can see the header items, and the row items we can drill down into further using a separate UI. Back in the browse fragment, we set up event listeners to respond when one of our row items is selected. These will open up a vertical grid fragment, and this is just another leanback class that works a whole lot like the browse fragment. It just happens to lay out its content a bit differently. Inside the vertical grid fragment, you can see we also use the media browser subscription callbacks to populate the UI. The principles are identical to the material we've already covered, and here's how they look in action. When one of the songs is selected on the vertical grid fragment, we'll want to start a playback activity. Notice that we actually kick off playback here using the media controller, although of course we could do so instead inside the Playback Overlay fragment. Now let's have a look at the Playback Overlay fragment, another leanback class that provides playback controls. The media controller will handle the actual playback. All we have to do inside this class is map the UI control actions to commands for the media controller, and we do so using this event listener. Here you can see how we forward an action on the UI to the media controller, and here's how that looks in action. At this point, you have everything you need to know to build a great leanback application.